our church people on visits who would love to do it, but the system doesn't let them. You might think, incidentally, of the benefits that could come if we could encourage all our congressmen and senators to use a fraction of the arms of the military budget to take themselves to Russia and to meet this enemy whom very few have actually met, very few legislators. Let me leave it at that.
Excuse me, but we don't go back, we don't get into dialogue with each other.
You never answered my question.
If you stay here, maybe somebody else will answer your question in a while. The way we work is that everybody has a chance to speak and we don't get into back and forth dialogue with each other. Is there somebody else that would like to ask a question?
Yeah, this is in response to that. Somebody said yesterday in a workshop I was in that if two people are standing in a puddle of gasoline, it doesn't matter who strikes the match. And that's why I'm here for nuclear disarmament in this country.
Everyone hear what she said? You said she learned in a workshop yesterday an analogy. If two people are standing in a puddle of gasoline, it doesn't matter who strikes the match.
Yes.
Just another little piece of an answer, which is how I explain it to myself, why we should go ahead, even if the Russian people can't. I think, in a way, the Russian people are doing something because, in a way of showing their despair over the quality of their lives. It's in the papers. Russia has the worst alcoholism problem they have ever had in their history, and the worst productivity problem. People have no incentive to do anything, and it's bringing about an economic crisis, which is coupled with the economic crisis that the military budget is putting them in. On top of that, our missiles are even now 6 minutes away from the Kremlin. I think that the country of Russia has every reason to cooperate with a serious disarmament policy if one were only put forth. And the only way to put forth a serious disarmament policy is for us to pressure our government to do it. So what about the Russian people? They're like sinking under a weight of despair that we don't need to because we are free to act. And I think there will be cooperation. I have to believe that there is that possibility, and on that possibility, that's why I come here, that's why I act.
So we had in 48. They didn't have it.
Excuse me.
They got it, didn't they?
Somebody else, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say something on that too.
I just recently came back a month and a half ago from living for 4 months in the Soviet Union. And I didn't go there looking for peace activities. I went working on another research project. And one thing that struck me over and over again, people in the street, the ordinary people, the people of Romulus, the equivalent of the people of Romulus, over and over again would say things like to me, like, don't let your president drop the bombs on us. They're panicked, they're afraid, they're scared of what we're doing. And they feel very strongly, and I believe very strongly, that their military budget, they're putting money into their military budget because of the fear that they have of us. It was a real eye-opener for me to find that kind of fear. And women that I would meet talking about how we need to preserve ourselves and preserve our children, I mean, they are very much afraid of what we are doing. And I think we owe it to ourselves to continue this kind of action and let it get known, and it does get known. And it is absolutely true that they don't have the freedom to put the pressure on their government to do the things that we're able to do. That does not mean that they don't want peace. It does not mean either that the government does not want peace there.
Are there other questions that people have about the camp, about the incidents that you've heard about? I mean, there have been a lot of things in the press, quite a few of which are quite false. You might want to ask some questions about that or about the history of the camp.
How would you respond to church people in Geneva who say that the whole issue of your lifestyle here is overshadowing the issue of the weapons? And I hear that a lot, that a lot of people in the Romulus area and in Geneva can't get past the lifestyle that a lot of people have been exhibiting in the camp and around the camp. How do you answer that?
Somebody want to speak to that?
What lifestyle do you mean exactly? The lesbianism aspect or camping outdoors? What do you mean?
That's one element. Some nudity that's been reported by people, and stuff that people in Romulus, New York, weren't necessarily ready for. That the press and a lot of people have picked up on and made the issue. I'm not saying you made it the issue. I'm saying it has been made an issue, and for a lot of people, that is far overshadowing and outstretching the issue of the weapons. How do you respond to it?
I'll give that one a try. My feeling about it is that, first of all, I am truly sorry that the lifestyle of the women here has been traumatic for some of the people in the community. I feel like that there's a way in which presenting something new to people can really be helpful and constructive, and people learn and grow when they're confronted with something that's new and difficult. But that if it's too extreme, that it sometimes people kind of dig in and get scared and retreat, and it doesn't help them grow. And I feel like that for some people that's probably happened, but that, and I don't think that we chose to do that. It's like we didn't put this depot here, the Army put it here. And we came here because the depot is here, and we didn't really have time to sort of come in, real slow, 2 at a time over 3 or 4 years, because the missiles are going to be sent, are scheduled to be sent in December. So we felt that it was real important to act fast, and I think that has made it very hard for people, some people. On the other hand, I feel like a lot of what people mind is really intrinsic to our politics. Just to give you an example, we are very affectionate with each other. We do a lot of hugging and kissing, and that is how we support each other, and it's very important to us. I was in the jail in Interlaken, and when we had not had contact with anybody for about 3 days, and some women came and stood outside the jail with a line of police between us and them, and it was the first time we had seen supporters. And they were out there and they were acting out what happened on August 1st. They were acting out that the bus was bumpy and that they climbed over the fence. And they were reading the newspaper reports to us. We had had no newspapers and no TV. We had no idea of how our arrest had been treated or of anything that had happened on the 1st. We were so happy to see those women, and we knew some of them. And some of them were very dear to people that were in the jail. So we yelled out the window at them. We yelled, "Janie, we love you. Mary, we love you." And they yelled back at us. And later on, one of the women who lives in the local community, who's very supportive of the camp, told me that the counter demonstrators who were there demonstrating against the women who were supporting us felt like that was an instance of lesbianism. Well, it's not. It's an instance of the connection we have with each other, the warmth we have with each other, and the way that we support each other. And I feel that that's really important, and that that's a very positive thing. And as a matter of fact, I feel that lesbianism is a very positive thing, because I feel like love is and peace is what we're all about. And for me, people loving people, whether they be men or women in whatever combination, is something that's very positive.
Got a comment over here.
Yeah, I know just what you mean, Jim, in your question. And I'd like to say to those people, come out here, the women of whom ask such questions, and spend a day or an afternoon or 2 or 3 or however many. And as I found, that is not true. There isn't a large segment of offensive behavior, or even a substantial segment of offensive behavior. And I use offensive in the way it was asked. There's something else going on here that's very easy to detect and to capture if, you can just be.
Logical one. How do you counter that? How do you keep the focus in the right place? How do you keep it focused on the issues as opposed to what the media and other people have tried to make the issue. That's the methodological question.
I have two comments about it. First of all, I wasn't surprised because I went to seminary and I remember reading about the early Christian church and how people wrote us off as cannibals because we were eating the body and blood of Christ. And a whole number of other things. And how Christian was a dirty word until the Christians grabbed it and wore it proudly and claimed it faithfully. So it didn't surprise me. I remembered the Vietnam War, people that were working against the Vietnam War, and all the things that I read about them that I couldn't believe either. And I remember reading in my history books the comments that were made about women who fought for the women's right to vote, and how awful they were and what kind of men were in their lives. And wasn't it awful that they were out demonstrating when their husbands had to be home cooking their own meals? Things like that. It wasn't surprising to me at all. Okay, so one of the things that I think we do with that is we just say, yeah. That's one of the things. And I think another thing that we do with that is we stay focused. Is that we, through workshops, through our meetings, through our actions, through our energies, we have affinity groups that get organized to do actions through our CD workshops and things, that we stay focused and that we keep at it. And you might say, well, that's not going to work. Well, let me tell you what happened to me this morning, because I met at the United Methodist Church in Seneca Falls. 75 lovely, lovely people came to a program I did this morning. Not church, after church. They'd already been sitting for an hour. And they came, and I was amazed because no side issues came up today. No one said anything about lesbian stuff. No one said anything about witchcraft. No one said anything about nudity. No one said anything about the flag. They wanted to know about the cruise and the purging. And for an hour and a